Today is the second and last day of the teaching, so I would like to wish all of you who have come good morning.
다양한데 도심디 티디 마디즈 만든시 데 차서 말해 티 디즈 만든 차징이 되면은 얘들 도심 티 디즈 만든시 근데 가장 최 미림도 수야이
I need to read the text of the Torch of True Meaning, otherwise we will not finish the instructions on Vajrasattva. So I will now read the text and then we will continue the discussion of the visualization from yesterday.
다들이야 나 가서 쉬는 시에 다 텔레비전 쳐 텔레비전 조주 뒤숨기 자와 세드 잡지는 팀be 구조구도 용어로 쇼발에 디딥정에 소한다 토게강or 사변의 이식이 유지 법 꾸르 담제 강 마숑 류베스기 샤베베 대원 까탈랄라 법 장게 지원의 쇼 새롭 통마메바네 사베 탐징 냠자소 디딥 담제 두고당 술구 내 담제 나라 추스 뇌 담제 신부진 진기 남바 뇌제 샤라다 제바 춘에 발마치와시 왕부고네 법이부간 대제 왕지 쓰기 쓰실 팀
Continuing from about a third of the way down, page 48. Light radiates out from the home, inviting the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions and 3 times to dissolve into the home and mantra. Think that Vajrasattva becomes the combined essence of all the jewels. Supplicate him to purify your misdeeds and obscurations. Think that this causes wisdom nectar to flow from the seed syllable and mantra garland at his heart. It fills his entire body and, as if overflowing, descends in a white stream from the big toe of his right foot and enters you through the crown of your head. Like a river carrying away detritus, it flushes out through your orifices and pores all the misdeeds and obscurations you have accumulated from beginningless lifetimes. such as breakages and violations of samaya, in the form of soot and sludge, all illnesses in the form of pus, blood, and lymph, and all duns in the form of parasite and filth, along with your physical flesh and blood. These dissolve into the powerful golden earth.
Lama doji sama tuki shen zumba de che rigi bu kyo ki dirib nidong tamde tu diring de taba yino she sungu uyung zane wedo shu de rana timbe doji sembe kusung do da ranga lunga yisu yeme de kyo bar samla mimi bar sha.
Your body is filled with pure wisdom nectar, and the excess overflows and touches Vajrasattva's foot. Visualize this extremely clearly again and again. As it is said, if you are distracted by something else, reciting for eons will bear no fruit. Thus, without even a moment's distraction, recite the 100-syllable and 6-syllable mantras at a moderate pace, clearly, correctly, and sonorously. At the end, join your palms and recite the words of the supplication and confession, protector out of ignorant delusion. Guru Vajrasattva is pleased and reassures you, saying, "Child of noble family, all of your misdeeds, obscurations, wrongs, and transgressions are purified from today onwards." He then melts into light and dissolves into you. Think that Vajrasattva's body, speech, and mind become inseparable from your own body, speech, and mind, and rest without reference point.
Digwatawe da shungdu se kebraj da lu yang ni chung kam de rigwa se nyamdo taldor yewa sun jungor sung.
If it is the end of the session, dedicate the merit. The signs of having purified misdeeds are explained in the texts. Some particular ones include your body becoming light and needing little sleep, experiencing good health and a clear mind, having some minor experiences and realization, and so forth.
Da di jele amang jangweru muchegi ji da kasu dosim gi diwa shawan di ji kodyen ruji ma sungu hare.
Following this, Jamgon Kongtrul discusses the general subject of confessing the misdeeds and the Vajrasattva practice.
Di kodene chiri digba panggu gewa drugu di pangla shishi shene shena domba ne zobe sangi nyezi te sonle yichene lane chebati kongbe na tunin yebayi le gidi kan yin rong gyui tuna chungyan dribu tuna peche digben dribu ngesonda gewen dribu dendro soso jo rangi chebe le chu misa ma chebe le da mite teyang dosha shela timu sungi gune lambe le lunga do ngosu tongani yige tenpa ne yige le ngosu namgyur ngosu ma tenpa de yige le ngosu namgyur tenpa ne lunga ga le de le tamche ngosu yin droga we jigedo jigden na bur droye chir yini tuki zawa yin xie sung digbe le tela tsame nga teda nyawa nga mige wo chu jishi lo ge do chaba so da domba sumdan gewe nidung domba sumdan gewe nidung rangi giba da shenla che chukba dam cheba la jesu yiran shi teba cheba so dona rangri namgi mishi misorwara gewa tome ne sabe digdung rivu zamre kurdu korwe ting tada lunga yisumdi samche churze pechir tusum kone wangi digdib kane do sabay kyang rendo di nyebe tsendiyam lami gungi chashi mu chusha mangbo tang lasungna yelashi dungi ki laada gyo nyebe chedo tsu drese le digbe tripki pabu dramashi 자미시 밀럼양 년바 나서 미 라야 로미디 치yen 년바다 친내 작본 중 치외지 내주 직자 동해다 파도량 추습시 치외어도야 디글레 친진 충송다 튀비 년송송기 동해 퇴차了 유리원유 용 남식 토리수 깨나야 세통 내마오 니메도 자교다오 유라 로니에다 니죽소 중
As for the meaning of the practice, we must give up wrongdoing and accomplish virtue. Only the perfect Buddha knew correctly what to abandon and what to adopt and advised others about it. Believing his words and putting them into practice is internalizing their essential meaning. Whether an action is virtuous or a misdeed, even if it is small at the time of its cause, its effect increases greatly at the time of the result. The results of misdeeds manifest as the lower realms, and the results of virtues as the higher realms. The actions you have done will not go to waste, and you will not experience karma you have not committed. Actions that are motivated by desire, aversion, or ignorance, but not actually physically or verbally expressed, are mental actions. Those actually expressed are actions of body and speech. The mind must precede all actions, so it is said, because it makes the world go dark, the mind is the root of poison. Misdeeds include the 5 heinous deeds, the 5 near heinous deeds, the 10 non-virtues, the 4 weighty actions, the 8 perversions, and so forth, along with downfalls that are violations of the 3 types of vows, whether you have done them yourself, encouraged others to do them, or rejoiced at and praised them. In brief, we carry the burden of a mountain of misdeeds and downfalls that we do not know about or feel, but have accumulated in beginningless lifetimes. On top of that, almost all our present intentions and actions of body, speech, and mind just heap on additional misdeeds and obscurations, due solely to the 3 poisons. Because of these wrongs, we are cursed and slandered by the gods and humans in this life. Things often go wrong or don't work out. Our guardian deities forsake us, and duns and obstructive spirits take advantage of this. We are thrust into the ranks of the wretched. Our misdeeds cast a shadow on everything, and we are connected to, bringing bad luck. We have various bad dreams and are unhappy. Fatal accidents and severe mortal illnesses occur. At the time of death, there is intense agony, fear, and suffering, and there is intense confusion in the bardo. And after death, we will experience for a long time the agonizing suffering of the 3 lower realms in accord with the severity of our wrongdoing. Even if at some point we are born in the high realms, we will have short lives and ill health. Though you are innocent, enemies and lawsuits will appear, and there will be crop failures, epidemics, and war in your country.
gyudhungi rivu digbala gashi dunghe gyumi cheru pe mija kamer rangla pe nye bashi na digba cha guyame teni ma indi yana zhandu nyen yong yana norlong ju nyen ra yana togu sogi chiri yin tenam ni chizam zomya rang chiwe tse penpa dindu zomya me nyen ra long ju puchung masu tajime se kamji ke lu gan hewa me rang chi buru nyen son do kembe se digba cheze gen jibu dunghe de shen la gosha chesa me rang kone yong janyen de gyurwa da nyen janyen de gyurwa da nyen zhuru gyuwa ya tsik me be digba che pyo ba de dugi sin duengi nyo lenji mi shi ba chimbo yin do gen tanga nimi na ji ge ma chen ba di 마네 마체 사와시기야 마중 다네 류소 남지 참에베 디버정 랑갑게 이유나 중세경 제랑 마중와 치쇼르제 나랑 년송 동에 진짜쇼나 셰소 랑가랑라 텐데 도미츠 로마 대화를 공개
As the causally compatible result, you will enjoy wickedness and your suffering will increase unceasingly. It is not so that you must do wrongs that are unavoidable and will definitely benefit you, whether for the sake of subduing enemies or protecting friends, for the sake of wealth, possessions, or reputation, or for the sake of food, clothing, and so forth. No matter how much you have, those will not benefit you even a sesame seed's worth at the time of death. Forget about reputation, possessions, children, spouses, and so forth. You will be powerless to take with you even a single morsel of food or a set of clothes. Alone you will wander to the lower realms. At that time there will be no one with whom you can share the suffering that results from your misdeeds. You alone will experience it. It is not hard for an enemy to change into a friend or a friend into an enemy. So daring to commit wrongs is to be caught by the Maras and crazed by jinns. It is great stupidity and ignorance. But up to now we have not recalled even a single drawback and had never said, I can't let myself do this, I shall not. Think to yourself, I could die at any time. Will I even have time to purify my misdeeds? If I die without purifying any of them, what suffering will occur to me in the lower realms, and so forth? Drive yourself to blame. You must drive yourself to shame. You must meditate until you cannot sit still and are disconsolate.
다 들어서 전다다 말로. 다 가장 믿음 최초이.
That is enough for now. We will continue with the visualization.
다 드네 가상디 외스트루 가르소에 외스트루드르체 튜니 지주디 휴스마레 다 디젤이야 도지스베게다 셰샤 용수조바 드네지 게아요.
Yesterday we discussed how the light radiates and performs the two benefits. Following this, there is the discussion of the complete visualization of Vajrasattva.
다 외스르 조네 주두단 두차와다 냠도 남산 디 뉴번도 되게 아니 도르지 홍데제바 도지시 홍이데제바디 아니 용수 규발레 라마다 니스메베 랑게 다지 자야 라마다 니스메베 발도지 셈바 이 꿀이야 저 정리 깨고요 이 말에.
After the light radiates out and then comes back, it is reabsorbed into the Vajra and the Hum, and the Vajra and Hum are transformed into Vajrasattva, who is inseparable from your root guru.
예 가장 쉬운 신기해요. 유디오마 테솔리아 외도 쉬아데 메스 드네지 개와 가시 수고도 외도 쉬에 왕도 담배는 도지 홍다 잡아 담고 외도 외스르기 공부를 버지리 교수상 외도 외스르기 공부를 교르네 아니 람드니 디니 라마 도지스베 남발 교수상 버지 공고르바 이윤에 갑들이야 외슈 매병 왕도 담배이나 아니 도지 홍다 잡아데 테마타도 라마 도지스베 남발로 봐 교원을 버지 여버치고 있어.
I mentioned yesterday how in the lower classes of Tantra there is not the tradition of visualizing the implements melting into light. If you visualize the melting into light, then the Vajra and Hum would melt into a sphere of light, and that sphere of light would then become Vajrasattva. But here there is no such melting into light. Instead, the Vajra and the Hum immediately transform into Vajrasattva.
갑들이야 바지 딱지 게지기 라마도 됐으면 그렇게야 그렇지 베지 기지기 이 소소기 생활이야 라마도 됐으면 꾸이 나바 차사로 차트베 이미나 난 되게 고쳐로 인지민지 가르소에 아주 여기 시리 나라래 아니지 가르라 당기지로 베네딩 라마도제스마 예네가 사실은 예배도 예배 주분지 이기로 쇼스 Sirima, Dongo Bengabaske, Yiminia, let Tambo Begi, Longolia, and Gijigi, Yingola, the Chasan, Zober Chartu Inza, the Yunzen Dene, and Jimji send out Goba. They are Kashmir.
And so here it can become Vajrasattva in an instant. And so if it is possible for for Vajrasattva to instantly appear in his full form immediately, then that is best. And in that case, it is not necessary to meditate as it is described in the actual text in the Nundro, where it says, on a lotus and moon there appears Vajrasattva with one face and two hands and so forth. It is not, in that case, that serves, visualizing him instantaneously serves and is enough, and it is not necessary to recite the words. However, for beginners, it can be difficult to generate the entire visualization in a single instant. And so for them, then it is important to do it gradually.
다드네 데르 도지스마 대양 군도 qarbo 시지 청이 예 도지 쟁아바다 유연라드네 가르스레 예라 도지 쟁아바 유연라지 무거기 티분지마 다드리세다.
And so we visualize Vajrasattva as being white in color with one face and two arms, holding a five-pronged Vajra in his right hand and a white silver bell in his left.
대양 군도 qarbo gomgewe gyunzende digdip jongwe dindila dene qarjo bena ngaju ji pa changma che changwa de cheba da thagwa de cheba dindege dindila gone 군도 qaba che.
The reason for visualizing him as white is as the interdependent connection for purifying our misdeeds and obscurations. The meaning is that it symbolizes the cleanliness and the purity.
Dene tabda shirib chembe chedo doje de tibu namba.
To symbolize means and wisdom, he is holding the Vajra and bell.
Adene Shab ye yang yuengum sembe girung rishuba.
His right leg is extended and his left is bent in the posture of a sattva.
Di sembe girung de ye yang yuengum de Shab ye yang yuengum yun dus ye yang yuengum shi shu yun dus ane Shab ye wege tebong de rangi jizugi da de jizugi da 부가 될이야 샤비에베 태봉데 지속이 부가를 리고 드네지 공부 유사래.
And so when we visualize him with his right leg extended and his left leg bent, then the big toe on, you should visualize that the big toe on his right foot touches you in the crown of your head, in the fontanelle.
Today 샤비에미나 에너지 뒤짐 배장성 꿀에 뒤집하고 유사네. If
you visualize it in this way, then it will be easier to visualize the nectar flowing into your body. Most paintings and depictions of Vajrasattva show him sitting in the Vajra posture. There are very few that show him sitting with his right leg extended and his left bent.
샵 예장 용공고 남아쳐야 돼. 이제 팁을 돼 있네. 단동 텔레 야스르지 트트야르지 제제는 밀시다 데머니체 아니 베시아레
So we had one. We painted one, and I had the hope that maybe I would be able to paint a better one, and so I haven't shown it to anyone.
When I said Tari, Jumudri Jenny, I was right. Dine, the Chumaso, that gave us him.
I thought it would be good to have that painting this year, but we don't have it, so it's not a problem.
Tadine Uderebe, Turzuzi, the Udagi Reva de Yabe, Jurjini, Turzus Yaji, Di Langma di Energy, Gabrolma, Chen, Gudu Guigi, Dakarjue. The Gabrol changes and the good is kept there under the gom, and Dana Jimuchi Ganda, and the flight in Nasadan. That is Kazue. Tamang was doa, that is the Rish the sugar as came into, and that is Jimakushare, and the idea you have a check, the Niji Gom.
His hair is bound in a top knot. This means the locks of his hair are bound in a knot on the top of his head, and then the remaining hair flows down over his back. It covers his upper back. He is also wearing various jeweled ornaments and robes. There are many different details of the visualization, but it is not necessary to explain them all now.
Didn't Karjure Doji somebody the Gu Kane Demba, the Didrevy shed and Char, Gusuk Namgur, the Jicheva, the Doji somebody Gu Kane Demba, Shubina.
And so, what is the Tantra that this form of Vajrasattva, with this sort of face and appearance, what is the Tantra that this comes from?
That Nanjurgu, Shigu, Nanjurgu, Tinin Dubasadi, Nanjurgu Jare. Nanjurgu Jare, that Dinalar, Sunhares. Then that Denshaw, Sung Denshaw, Gedorgi, Shigu, Sambuda, Shigu Sambuda Nanolea, din Denore Sunsha. That the name Yagargi, that Trubjens and Kevas and Takandar, the Jambet Haven Zebe, Binted and Jambet Haven Zebe. Sawachi Chok, Nimbu Gens, Nimbu Gen. Or that Tin Nanole, and the Dojisemba Karuretaji, Shesha, Namgur, the day they were Jitendo. Tana she dingu Trelia, Yaga Lama Shilas to the Sandy Changmendo, and that Dige, and Dojisemba Tutosto, TV, Sheshan, Namgur. We number that share that chart, the Somolo did the Mundrin company, 10 number, did the Chibuchiganus to Resha, the Udusana, Daji, a young Samsaji, Gugi Kung career, Kiranzu to the Gom de Adelia, Gugi Kung career, Gagari Kebegi, Shunkartea Yesana, that the Nedijibuchi, Mikia is something to do. Shema Dobe, Dorsem Manshede, Dosim, Ye. Yumda Jebe, number Mambushua, and the Industan, Dorsim de Di Karure, Yabjang number, and Deam Beji, Sembe Girunga, so that the number Jengi, and Dosim Batil Kunki Sana, the Nervici, you said something.
This form of Vajrasattva is taught in the compilation of thusness, which is a yoga tantra, and it is also taught in the Sambhuta Tantra, that is an explanatory tantra about Chakrasamvara and Hevajra. Likewise, there is an Indian Mahasiddha, you could say, or perhaps a scholar named Jambaldakpa, and he wrote about this in his treatise, in his text called the Secret Ornament of the Essence. And so within that treatise, it describes this form of Vajrasattva with the same color, face, and number of arms, and so forth. Likewise, in the Tenjuru, there is another text written by an Indian guru whose name I have forgotten. There's a sadhana for Vajrasattva with the same form, the same number of faces and arms and so forth, as we meditate upon in the Ngundra, in the preliminary practices. And so for that reason, if someone were to challenge you and say, what is the source in the Indian texts? What is the source of this Vajrasattva that we meditate upon? I think we have something that we can show them. Otherwise, there are often many different forms of often we visualize Vajrasattva with a consort, and I think so I think it is important that we can show that there is a source in the Indian texts for this for the solitary male figure.
Jambe Tabasadi, Yang Bid in Jambe Tabasadi, Jidangi, Dingur Trelia, Zedung Namse, Sangak, that's all the Lamera, Lameg, Zedung Namse Mangusior, Zedung number 7, Zedungi, Jeshe Mangushi on the Are, the in a Tinane, Jambe Tabadi, the Keshed, with Semarus, Zidiarus. 그래서 까마바 정중도 지기 탐식 야주사지雄지와다 조디 상아 탐식이죠. 저 자동으로서 상아 라메기 자동도 디주 탐식 야주. 어디디 탐식 야주디 망치에데 디나 송대야 남샤 망치에데 법인 잠배 잡아디. 리리니리 말어. 리리니리지 마도베 안 망치에데 법인 잠배 잡벤제베. 자동도 남시에 되라 공주원 잡아 리즈레 다는 신기 제르무치기 다 자동기 남시에 알아 되게디 디주나네 잠배 차워디 자치부즈는 유스레 되네 사자베 지중 고만 남의 난세 되네 잡아 연전이 자동을 추버 봉하사지 슝 깨라 첨부지 알아 다 디나나려야 아니데 딩규 틀려야 되베 자동은 남셔야 돼서 다 도버를 제지 디주 지 가르레 디주 장아락 주진 디주 제베 랍라 요아르데네 장아 주진 디주 제베 이메 티숨베 송아소 디주 송송 요아레 다 이메네 마샤기 다지 체마르 두스지 요아레 리레샤이
Now, this Indian scholar, Jambaldakpa, wrote a treatise on a presentation of the root downfalls. There are many different presentations on the root downfalls in the Tenjur, and they primarily deal with the root downfalls in the Unexcelled Yoga Tantra. Among these different treatises, the one by Jambaldakpa is considered the most important and authoritative. The third Karmapa, Rangjung Dorje, wrote a treatise on the downfalls called The Ocean of Samaya, in which he discussed the root downfalls of the secret mantra of Vajrayana. And within this, most of his discussion comes directly from Jambaldakpa, except for maybe a few points here and there. Almost all of his discussion is based upon Jambaldakpa's. Likewise, Tsongkhapa wrote an explanation of the root downfalls that also is based upon Jampo Dragpa's explanation. There was a great Sakya master named Dragpa Gyaltsen who wrote a treatise called Eliminating Misconceptions about Root Downfalls, in which he raised the doubt that perhaps many of the root downfalls discussed in the Tenjir were not actually written by Indian Panditas, but most scholars consider Jampo Dragpa's treatise to be valid and authoritative.
다들 내려비지마도 다 이제 신다게 쉬하면 소시도 어다 간다 듣는 전에 다 듣는 막 무티 지 공다 치료 쉬빈다 버지 정면도 좀 정도 다 간다랑 들이 지 도르섬 검대 지하디 미세기 가지고 때 개심으로 지 내가 가장 공도 쉬는 시래 아 처음으로 상하 냠래 체링 둘이 차디게 빈두산에 디윤전데네 지 상하 탐지사야데 에너지 에 분보도 지라 아니다 지 가르에 탐에베 두시 개와 에너지 데머 딘지 슈보이나 분보도 지라 탐에베 두시 개와 탐에베 딘진 루기야입니다. 다 가르주에 탐지지 규모더고 가난 탐지 규모더고 근데 차 된다면 두시 깨마도 제 딘진도 쇼부입니다. 다 대한베지 상하게 니동 차로 그래서 송도 다들 가고 싶지 르바다 오늘지라 드린 비슷하네 디균zel 되네 상하게 니동도 좀 신라서 쉬고 알았어 드린 비슷하네 제신 니마 제신도 지금 소 니소수 니동 중앙에 배고버데 계속 쉬고 차대 알았어 조지 반에 어디샤기 고란이야지 투담 자매도 남대야기 신기 전주 최대죠 신기 전주 최대는 지 남야 알았어 된 남제 니마 다와르시 고주 샤종 는 거래 샤종나 동화的샤다 민조번 제베이스 동화다 샤게 니동 가라요벤 다다다다 봐 튠수에 능고도 봐 니동 담제 봐 장제 아니 아직 디링기 니동 사샤버데 선이 무드에 샤종 마제비치 냠도 타데버든데 잡는 거 말았어 드린두사 조제반에 어디셔도 비딘데 샤과 맞으다 버제버제 다 까마르를 베르 제고 한럽지도 와 다이네 까마르를 아주 갈아가고 싶지 와 드린두사네 딱 간다라 남규 라마 고만 남아 쓰기 에너지 튠식이 냠네 능거 알아서 개체미 튠죽이 냠네 튠식이 냠네 능거 디디스 가라서나 지고 튠수 그 능홍이야 지 님비스베 관하다 니동 가라이네야 반 장셔 두사네 에너고 답되시죠 로되시죠 근데 두사네 디균전데네 다 디케지버시더라
We will continue with the discussion of the visualization this afternoon. Now, as I said yesterday, this meditation and recitation, the Vajrasattva practice, is especially important for us. For all of us, we are practitioners of the secret mantra Vajrayana. And so it is important for us to keep the samayas, the secret mantra. As I said yesterday, if we have even a jug, a water jug or a pitcher, and we visualize that and we think of it as an ordinary thing, if we grasp it as being real and consider it to be an ordinary thing, then this is this is to not see it with pure perception. This is not seeing it as being illusory. And so this is a wrong or a fault in the secret mantra Vajrayana. But this is very difficult for us. And so in that way, it is very important for us to try our best to purify all the faults and downfalls of the secret mantra Vajrasamayana. It is important for us to do this every single day. For example, the Lord Atisha, when he came to Tibet, did not have many possessions, but he did have a stupa made of wood that he brought with him everywhere he went. And everywhere he went, he would perform a confession ritual in front of this and confess all of the wrongs and violations of Samaya that he had done. He would do this because it was considered very important to confess the violations within the time frame of the session that you are in. Because if you don't do them, if you don't confess them immediately, if you don't confess today's and they remain unconfessed until tomorrow, that is not acceptable. So if Atisha felt that he should do this himself every day, then we probably should be doing this every single minute. But it is difficult to do that. And so for that reason, the great masters of the past have talked about doing the practices of the 4 sessions, doing the confession practice in each of the 4 sessions. And the reason for this is that it is said that if we are able to apply the antidote for the misdeeds and downs within the period of a session, then we will be able to purify them easily. And so for that reason, it is important for us to confess them and purify them each session.
But to some ne sonde Yamaribu does Yenche Parla, energy Gayugi, energy Tembadi Kashuretaji Tamsigla Seleme, and the Digi Kashureta Laloki Tamsigla Seleme, the Digi Takadar Juba Chimameva Energy. Sergi Chimoto, that is Chumber. Taine, Debelo, Kashena Lolea, Tangazuchi, Nizumakushi, Nar Chunume was an abated Jugorta. Nar Chunume did Nizu Tabdogo, Anzuji, Kamakamsangi, Chugundilia, Hadara, the partition was an adult Chumber. That the young were the Zozo. Le look the Tamzik, Yabumason. Jesus again. The Rigidabo. The Neji Yamaribidojita, Rigidabo, Shudeva. Dingas with Martemch. Deva Kajurataji. Jefferson and Riduce. And the Dish and Dana, she tempered. Roji, Talia, as somebody Yaki Motus. And Negum Nego Gizi, the Tunachunta Chunta, Cashelia, Gachmur Tonche, and the Digitona and Azulia. The Digionga Krang Yas, Tawatua Tia, but the Lalo Tamsi, and Chero Tamsi, and the Abuchimachon, the Junsen Tachundian. The name Juzana, and the ring out of those Semicom de Chadi. 당아주 약한 도지스면 검대치고마다 디스지가서 네발에 네발 통해 통해 안 도지스면 검대치지 안데당아 드리비스안에 라버도 달러도 재미나 아니 갑지 자마르무치 공부조도 쉐브레 드리비스안 딘제기 다 고랑 공개했다 구지나로래야 단 제반 남자들 지 가르쳐 담는 방법이 좋으래. 따이면 디자 상황으로 지금 대변이 주의롭지래. 초진에 갈디 미지 고데 가르쳐다 지데지 도스지 삼담이네 나란 펜도르 정도 아니 탐지 캠바 샤마르 군지 당보 아니 잡았은기네 송디 군지 마베리니야 때마든 저에 돼 라버치강 라버도 주유가마 감상 템발이야 되네 거진 쉐도 매베던 일을 또 차대야 드린 주사 디균전 되네 디주기 잡아도 남탈라 삼당바이나 안다 되기 샤마름지 잡아 남들 중세 말릭 번더버정 아주 통바이네야 텔레야지 가르쳐 봐지 아주 뇌네 지 삼로 동면 특별히 개체가 많아서 샤마라 고고마디지 랍싱기 거진던 지진디서 삼당바이나 데데다 지 파지 아주 저 삼당 통버려 저 파지 인지게다 마소나 지 forgive understanding 채토버지 다 드리지 채토고 매비나 아주 지 최배 수수네 초스게요 만에 근데 인디사 디균셀 되네 아 드제기 양지 아주다 탐지를 냠차 탐지를 세망 우슈지 여베상 근데 그게 상황로 언들이 참에 다바 채송 삼바로 다바 지약 민주 작고체 드리지 동의 야천번낭 망원벌이는 당연 되지 말아서
Almost all of us gathered here are in the Dharma tradition of the Karma Kamsa. And from the first Karmapa Dusum Khenpa until the 16th Karmapa Rangjung Rinpoche Dorje, in the teachings of the Kagyu lineage, there was never any tarnish or stain on the Samaya. There was never any blemish on the connection, the Samaya connection between masters and students. It was like a string of gold. But in the last few years, for whatever reason, there have been various situations that have occurred, various obstacles that have occurred in situations and tarnishes on the lineage of the Karma Kansa. And the reason for this is that the samaya between masters and disciples has not been pure. We have not remembered the master of the Lord of the Families, Rangjung Rinpoche Dorje. We have not recalled that he is present. We've forgotten that, and because of that, these situations have occurred. There have been some temporary situations that have happened. We've not been able to see past them. We think of them as being important, and then because of that, we've had the blemishes on the samaya connection between the masters and the disciples, between the Dharma friends. And so, for that reason, it is important for us to do this Vajrasattva meditation as well as we can. To really see our faults as being faults and to confess them, and thus it is important to do this Vajrasattva practice. Particularly in this past year, when the all-knowing Shama Rinpoche has passed away. He did many different things in his lifetime, and we see them in many different ways. But in one aspect, I think, if we think about it in this way, it is beneficial. We think that from the first all-knowing Shama Rinpoche, Drapa Sengye, onward, there have been many incarnations of the Shama Rinpoches who've done amazing things for the benefits of Buddhism in general, and great things, and have been shown great kindness to the teachings of the Karma Kamsan lineage in perspective. And so, if we think about their example and their biographies and life stories, then there may be a few things about this Shama Rinpoche that we may think are not that we may think of as not okay, but we don't need to just think about this one. We need to look at the whole line of the Shamas and try to forgive and understand. If we are not able to be forgiving and understanding, then there's no point in us pretending to be Dharma practitioners. And so it is important for us we all have a lot of Samaya connections, and it is important for us to have the pure perception and try to purify ourselves as much as we can.
다들 탐지를 셀레메와 다들 규바 림부체 가서 다들이 미념양바 메바 치시기 바로 네트워크 다들에게 참에 통면난과도 계획물에 다지 주기 담바가 유 담바사디 무구기 다 규바르부터 차대야래 드린주산에다 무구기 tempo me abache tamsik tempo me abache abimina ta thena tempo nyam so da tempo yun che jibu cha de 그런 이 삼에 대대신도 지 토르야 샤나데 계준부터 차 de 아래 대양 주제 누버군이 라마라 신제롱 록다마게나 지름 주고인 라메 가는 잡은 나나요 저 라마 댄스에 슈글라야 제가 남들 간지지 나비냐 수수응에네 로다 마게베체 아니 소소로 고야한테 가르고 그러잖아 딱 간다르지 가서에 풍회 정지내면 신기 풍회게 매도 네 지주 렌주상 코랑 고야한테 렌거면 코랑 먹어야 참 긴주고 말아 어디든 인주상 아주 고야한테 수수 렌카도체 로다 마게베체 내 제베는 실업 줄은 죽어래 최저 낭편수임이냐 교랑기 쿨나 담시 민계와에 최저 낭편수 때때 녀를 중빈 당의 교인이 다등 알아 지마 송삼네 수수 랑교인디 콘네 된투버를 중부임이나 야 랑교 가시 랑교 매상서를 된도 랑교 요ar다 가다 교인지요 디 콘네 된투버를 중부임이나 아니 담시 민계와에 스트레스는 아들이 인도스타 디교스산 참여에게 대대신도 토를 사과해야 돼. 나 개념을 주세요. 좀 정도.
And so it is important that in the future, the teachings of the practice lineage can be just as they were in the past, without any tarnish or any blemish. And so it is important for us to make the aspiration that the teachings of the practice lineage may remain without waning, without declining until the end of time. And so the Kagyu tradition, the Kagyu teachings are a lineage of devotion. And so if our devotion is not stable, if our samaya is not stable, then in actuality the teachings have weakened, the teachings have been lost. And so it is important for us to understand this. It is as the great master Drukpa Kunle said, no matter what the Lama does, if we do not have wrong views about it, then we have received the blessings. And so no matter what the Guru may do, whatever behavior they may do, we should not have any wrong view about it. We need to remember what it is that we need. We need to be like bees taking nectar from a flower. When the bee visits a flower, the bee only takes the nectar that it needs. It does not take what it does not take. And so we need to be in the same way, and we just need to receive the blessings. especially when among Dharma friends we have problems that arise. If we accept the fault, blame, and say, oh, I admit it, this problem is mine. This is my fault. I am the one to blame. Then there is no fault to the samaya. For it's often the case that the fault is our own, and if we accept that, the blame upon ourselves, then there is no breaking the samaya. So I think that it is important for us to understand this.